Jacob, the future father of the nation of Israel, was on the run from his twin brother Esau. In Genesis chapter 25, we learn that Jacob had deceived his brother Esau into relinquishing his birthright as Isaac's firstborn son. As it turned out, all it took for a hungry Esau to give up his inheritance to his younger brother was an offer of soup. Genesis chapter 25, verses 27 through 34. And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man, dwelling in tents. And Isaac did love Esau because he ate of his venison, but Rebekah loved Jacob, and Jacob sawed pottage. And Esau came from the field, and he was faint. And Esau said to Jacob, Feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom. And Jacob said, Sell me this day thy birthright. And Esau said, Behold, I am at the point to die, and what profit shall this birthright do to me? And Jacob said, Swear to me this day. And he swore unto him, and he sold his birthright unto Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and a pottage of lentils, and he did eat and drink, and rose up and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. In Genesis 27, Jacob upped his game still again by impersonating Esau in order to deceive his aged and nearly blind father into blessing him. When Isaac was old and his eyes were so weak that he could no longer see, he called for Esau his older son and said to him, My son. Here I am, he answered. Isaac said, I am now an old man and don't know the day of my death. Now then, get your equipment, your quiver and bow, and go out to the open country to hunt some wild game for me. Prepare me the kind of tasty food I like, and bring it to me to eat, so that I may give you my blessing before I die. Now Rebekah was listening as Isaac spoke to his son Esau. When Esau left for the open country to hunt game and bring it back, Rebekah said to her son Jacob, Look, I overheard your father say to your brother Esau, Bring me some game and prepare me some tasty food to eat, so that I may give you my blessing in the presence of the Lord before I die. Now, my son, listen carefully and do what I tell you. Go out to the flock and bring me 2 choice young goats, so I can prepare some tasty food for your father, just the way he likes it. Then take it to your father to eat, so that he may give you his blessing before he dies. Jacob said to Rebekah his mother, But my brother Esau is a hairy man, while I have smooth skin. What if my father touches me? I would appear to be tricking him and would bring down a curse on myself rather than a blessing. His mother said to him, My son, let the curse fall on me. Just do what I say. Go and get them for me. So he went and got them and brought them to his mother, and she prepared some tasty food just the way his father liked it. Then Rebekah took the best clothes of Esau, her older son, which she had in the house, and put them on her younger son Jacob. She also covered his hands and the smooth parts of his neck with the goatskins. Then she handed to her son Jacob the tasty food and the bread she had made. He went to his father and said, My father. Yes, my son, he answered. Who is it? Jacob said to his father, I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you told me. Please sit up and eat some of my game, so that you may give me your blessing. Isaac asked his son, How did you find it so quickly, my son? The Lord your God gave me success, he replied. Then Isaac said to Jacob, Come near so I can touch you, my son, to know whether you really are my son Esau or not. Jacob went close to his father Isaac, who touched him and said, The voice is the voice of Jacob, but the hands are the hands of Esau. He did not recognize him, for his hands were hairy, like those of his brother Esau. So he proceeded to bless him. Are you really my son Esau? He asked. I am, he replied. Then he said, My son, bring me some of your game to eat, so that I may give you my blessing. Jacob brought it to him, and he ate, and he brought some wine, and he drank. Then his father Isaac said to him, Come here, my son, and kiss me. So he went to him and kissed him. When Isaac caught the smell of his clothes, he blessed him and said, Ah, the smell of my son is like the smell of a field that the Lord has blessed. May God give you heaven's dew and earth's richness, an abundance of grain and new wine. May nations serve you and peoples bow down to you. Be Lord over your brothers, and may the sons of your mother bow down to you. May those who curse you be cursed, and those who bless you be blessed. After Isaac finished blessing him and Jacob had scarcely left his father's presence, his brother Esau came in from hunting. He too prepared some tasty food and brought it to his father. Then he said to him, My father, please sit up and eat some of my game, so that you may give me your blessing. His father asked him, Who are you? I am your son, your firstborn, Esau. Isaac trembled violently and said, Who was it then that hunted game and brought it to me? I ate it just before you came, and I blessed him. and indeed he will be blessed." When Esau heard his father's words, he burst out with a loud and bitter cry and said to his father, "Bless me too, my father." But he said, "Your brother came deceitfully and took your blessing." Esau said, "Isn't he rightly named Jacob? This is the second time he has taken advantage of me. He took my birthright, and now he's taken my blessing." Then he asked him, "Haven't you reserved any blessing for me?" Isaac answered Esau, "I have made him lord over you, and have made all his relatives his servants, and have sustained him with grain and new wine. So what can I possibly do for you, my son?" Esau said to his father, "Do you have only one blessing, my father? Bless me too, my father." Then Esau wept aloud. His father Isaac answered him, "Your dwelling will be away from the earth's richness, away from the dew of heaven above. You will live by the sword, and you will serve your brother. But when you grow restless, you will throw his yoke from off your neck." Esau held a grudge against Jacob because of the blessing that his father had given him. He said to himself, "The days of mourning for my father are near. Then I will kill my brother Jacob." When Rebekah was told what her older son Esau had said, she sent for her younger son Jacob and said to him, "Your brother Esau is planning to avenge himself by killing you. Now then, my son, do what I say. Flee at once to my brother Laban in Haran. Stay with him for a while until your brother's fury subsides. When your brother is no longer angry with you and forgets what you did to him, I'll send word for you to come back from there. Why should I lose both of you in one day?" Then Rebekah said to Isaac, "I'm disgusted with living because of these Hittite women. If Jacob takes a wife from among the women of this land, from Hittite women like these, my life will not be worth living." Combined, these deceptions transferred to Jacob both the physical and spiritual blessings of the family lineage. As you might expect, Jacob stealing this blessing and birthright from Esau caused a bit of tension between Jacob and his older brother. Because of this, the Bible says, Genesis chapter 27, verse 41, "And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, The days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then I will slay my brother Jacob." Esau meant every word he spoke. Knowing this, Esau's mother, Rebekah, sent Jacob to her brother Laban for refuge. Jacob hoped to find a wife and establish a new life there, safe from his brother's fury, with the permission of his father. Genesis chapter 28, verse 5. "And Isaac sent away Jacob, and he went to Padanaram unto Laban, son of Bethuel the Syrian, the brother of Rebekah, Jacob's and Esau's mother. Jacob decided to camp out under the stars, alone and on the run, with nothing but a rock for a cushion. Talk about a bad night's sleep. But then the story takes a momentous turn. Genesis chapter 28, verses 11 through 22. Jacob left Beersheba and set out for Haran. When he reached a certain place, he stopped for the night because the sun had set. Taking one of the stones there, he put it under his head and lay down to sleep. He had a dream in which he saw a stairway resting on the earth with its top reaching to heaven, and the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. There above it stood the Lord, and he said, "I am the Lord, the God of your father Abraham and the God of Isaac. I will give you and your descendants the land on which you are lying. Your descendants will be like the dust of the earth, and you will spread out to the west and to the east, to the north and to the south. All peoples on earth will be blessed through you and your offspring. I am with you and will watch over you wherever you go, and I will bring you back to this land. I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised you." When Jacob awoke from his sleep, he thought, "Surely the Lord is in this place, and I was not aware of it." He was afraid and said, "How awesome is this place! This is none other than the house of God. This is the gate of heaven." Early the next morning, Jacob took the stone he had placed under his head and set it up as a pillar and poured oil on top of it. He called the place Bethel, though the city used to be called Luz. This is the visual Jacob sees in the dream. But what does it mean? The latter represents the relationship between God and man. It shows that the God who created the universe wishes a close relationship with his creation, particularly mankind, and that he is the one who initiates that connection, discussion, and friendship. Unlike the Tower of Babel narrative, God himself built a staircase that leads to us. God then speaks to Jacob in the dream, saying, "I am the Lord, the God of your father Abraham, and the God of Isaac. The land on which you lie, I will give it to you and to your descendants. Your descendants will also be like the dust of the earth, and you will spread out to the west and to the east and to the north and to the south. And in you and in your descendants shall all the families of the earth be blessed. Behold, I am with you and will keep you wherever you go, and will bring you back to this land. for I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised you. Genesis chapter 28, verses 13 through 15. God reaffirms Abraham's bond with Jacob, Abraham's grandson, vowing that the same blessings and promises he promised Abraham would be fulfilled and carried on through Jacob, whom God would later rename Israel. Jacob, who was subsequently renamed Israel, married and fathered 12 sons who would become Israel's 12 tribes. The country of Israel, God's chosen people, would be born from this genealogy, and the promised Messiah, Jesus Christ, God's own Son, would arrive from Jacob's lineage. What is Jacob's response? Having received this vision and promise from God, Jacob immediately recognizes the power and providence of God, who had made himself known once again. Surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it. Jacob then proceeds to construct an altar out of the stone he had used for a pillar in order to dedicate that location to the Lord. He then replies, Genesis chapter 28, verses 20 through 22, Then Jacob made a vow, saying, If God will be with me and will watch over me on this journey I am taking, and will give me food to eat and clothes to wear so that I return safely to my father's household, then the Lord will be my God, and this stone that I have set up as a pillar will be God's house. And of all that you give me, I will give you a tenth. As is common in the Bible, God's providence and revelation are followed by a human response. Here, Jacob pledges to make his father's God, his God, and the God of his descendants for all time. While this story clearly represents the covenant made between God and Israel, many biblical scholars believe it also foreshadows the new covenant that would be forged by Jesus Christ's death and resurrection. As Jacob's ladder represented the connection between God and men, Jesus Christ would become the spiritual connection, mediator, and ladder to bridge the gap created by sin between God and men. And for this cause he is the mediator of the New Testament, that by means of death, for the redemption of the transgressions that were under the First Testament, they which are called might receive the promise of eternal inheritance. Hebrews chapter 9, verse 15. Jesus Christ would initiate a new spiritual covenant that would be available to all. He would exchange our sin for His righteousness, allowing us to know God and enjoy the intimate relationship He intended from the start. Jesus was indeed the Son of God. Even the Roman soldier at the cross declared that. To watch that video, click here.